Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to go up to Aberdeenshire once again to visit the town of Ellon. So as many of you might know, that is the home of Brewdog, who were one of my local breweries when I was studying up in Aberdeen. But this beer that we have for you today is called Hello, My Name is Little Ingrid, and this one is described as being a Cloudberry Session IPA. Now if you've watched my Brewdog reviews before, you'll know that I've done quite a few on the Hello, My Name is series. Normally they are double IPAs that have some sort of indigenous fruit added to them. There's been a few in the series, the Mete-Marie, which was Norway, the Paivi, which was Finland, Konnichiwa Kitsune, which was a Japanese one, but Hello, My Name is Ingrid was the original one, and this is essentially a kind of lower ABV version of that that's meant to be sessionable, so very, very cool. So as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll take you through a very brief history of the company. I've done many reviews for Brewdog before, so it will be very, very short. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. The brewery website's in the video description for you below, so go check that out, and there is also a link down there that will take you to my other Brewdog reviews, and you can rest assured that there will be many more added to that in the fairly near future. So anyway, to tell you about Brewdog, Brewdog is the love child of James Watt and Martin Dickey, and they were founded back in 2007 with their first brewery being a very small one in the Keswick Industrial Estate in Fraserburgh in the very northeast of Scotland. This is right on the tip of the monster's nose, as I always describe it, but more recently they have removed their main brewing operations to their new purpose-built facility in Ellon, and they did actually shut their Fraserburgh brewery quite recently, but they're known for being a very experimental craft brewery, and particularly for their strong beers. That seems to be how everyone knows them. The Tactical Nuclear Penguin, the Sink the Bismarck, and also the End of History as well, which got them in a little bit of trouble incidentally, but they're largely inspired by the American craft brewing renaissance, and these days they've got several brew pubs throughout the UK. These began actually opening throughout the UK in 2009 with their first one, the Home Bar in Aberdeen. They then moved down to Edinburgh and Glasgow the following year in 2010, and since then they've expanded all throughout England. They've gone to Sweden, Italy, I believe they're in Spain now as well. They're looking at opening up in Berlin, and I think Rome are the most recent ones. They've got one in Japan, one in Brazil, and they're looking at expanding to a new brewery in America and things like that. Columbus, Ohio apparently is going to be their new brewery. So there's some very exciting times of expansion going on at Brewdog. But what is really cool about this brand is that they are actually crowdfunded, if you like. They have their Equity for Punk scheme, which they run every few years, and this allows them to expand their brewing capacity and all of these sorts of things. So essentially you can buy shares in the brewery in exchange for discounts in the shop and everything like this. So very, very cool in fact, actually. And what's really cool is that these guys are the largest independently owned Scottish craft brewery at the moment, and they're producing a hell of a lot of beer. I'm not even sure what their capacity is anymore, but their new facility at Ellon, this is going to be the third time that they've expanded it. So a lot of very exciting times ahead for Brewdog, both in terms of the brew pubs and in terms of their new brewery over in Columbus in Ohio. But anyway, that's your kind of brief history of Brewdog. Let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer. So I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. It looks quite nice. I think this is one of the first ones that I've reviewed with the new labels on them, so it's quite nice. I do miss the old labels, I have to admit. But this is the same colour scheme as the original Hello, My Name is Ingrid. This is the new Brewdog bottle cap, actually, different colour. They do still have the blurb on the side though, so it says on the side, Hello, My Name is Little Ingrid. Hello, My Name is Little Ingrid hits all the high points of our original Cloudberry double IPA with a single exception. The ABV brewed to a session strength 4.4%. This beer is lightly toasty and incredibly fruity and every bit as beguiling. Rich malts at Centennial, Columbus, Nelson Sauvin and Bramley Cross hops and fresh Scandinavian cloudberries combine to deliver a tart finish. Hello, My Name is Little Ingrid is a celebration of all that is great about Sweden. Say hey. Yeah, so I'm moving to Sweden soon, so this one should be very, very cool actually. And I do love cloudberries. They're a very, very nice berry. If you've ever tried the Kopparberg Cloudberry cider, it's actually beautiful, and it's just such an unusual taste. So this guy is a 4.4% session IPA with the addition of cloudberries. As I told you, the hops in here are Centennial, Columbus, Nelson Sauvin and Bramley Cross, but it didn't actually list the malt bill on the website here. So without further ado, let's actually get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting then. But as I told you, the original Hello, My Name is Ingrid was brewed exclusively, I believe, for the market in Sweden. I don't think it was ever made available to their to Brewdog's fans in other countries, which I was always a bit disappointed about, because the Hello My Name is Mette Marie was really nice. There was also the Hello My Name is Päivi, which was beautiful, and then Konnichiwa Kitsune was one for Japan as well, but that was released everywhere, so it's cool that I can finally try this one for you. And I love the Hello My Name is series, probably my favourite Brewdog series actually. So yeah, as you can see, this is poured a really clear kind of goldeny amber colour, if you like. It's crystal clear, you can see right through that. There's a lot of small bubbles visible in the carbonation. It's got just a half finger of a frothy white head, but it's already kind of fading away to be a very thin foamy layer, but it looks very nice. And yeah, there's a lot of little bubbles just going up there, but if I put my fingers behind it, as you can see, it is nicely transparent there, but it looks very good. And without even paying too much attention to the aroma, you can get the cloudberries coming out of it here. Cloudberries, I don't even know how to describe the aroma. If you ever smelled the Kopparberg cider, you'll know exactly what I mean. It just has this very unusual strength. It's actually, it almost, in comparison to the cider, this actually smells a little bit more dusty, but that must just be the hops that they've added to it. But at 4.4%, you're not getting the same kind of big aromas as you do with the sort of double IPAs. The malt is a lot less pronounced because the caramel flavours obviously hide a lot of the kind of booziness of the beer. But yeah, you've got a nice, in the aroma of this one, you've got a nice grassy and aromatic hop. You've got some citrusy notes coming out too. And there's definitely a little bit of pine. You can pick up the pine sharpness, but underneath that there's also a little bit of kind of earthy hop coming out of this one too. It's probably the Bramling Cross actually. You can pick up the Bramling Cross quite easily. But the citrusy and the sort of citrusy elements are both, I think it's the Columbus and the Centennial that will bring that out. It almost has a little bit of a kind of gooseberry smell to it as well, if that makes sense, and that's usually the Nelson Sauvin. You can just smell that, but the cloudberry is very interesting. The cloudberry kind of drowns out the other ones quite a bit. You can see I've recovered the head on this a little bit just by sugaring it up. But the cloudberries in this one are definitely noticeable. It's a very distinct aroma, and I can't really describe it for you other than to tell you it's very distinct. You'll definitely notice that in this one. But incidentally, Brewdog have bars, I think it's in Gothenburg and Stockholm in Sweden, so when I move up there, I'm moving to Lund. So I should get up to visit the one in Gothenburg, and hopefully I can get over to Stockholm at some point too. So I will definitely go and have a look at these brew pubs. But underneath you can get just a little bit of sweet caramel and kind of slightly biscuity malts. There's a teeny bit of breadiness too, but the malt base is quite subdued in flavour of the fruits. It kind of, the malt base in this one almost mixes in with the cloudberries. You actually have to sugar it up quite a bit to get some of the other notes out of it. They're definitely there. They're a big citrusy hop, a little bit of aromatic, and some kind of pine and earthy notes too. As I say, the cloudberry is the most dominant component of this, and then within that you've got the malty characters, a little bit of caramel, biscuit and some bread. But without further ado, this is Hello My Name is Little Ingrid, a session strength version of the original Hello My Name is Ingrid from Brewdog in Ellon in Aberdeenshire. Slanja and Skal, I believe is what they say in Sweden, so cheers. It's quite interesting actually. It's actually quite big on the sort of pine resiny flavours. That's the first thing you get when you take it in, but obviously you need to let your mouth adjust a little bit. But on the first taste I'm getting the pine resin just going around the edge of the tongue there, but it's quite floral and aromatic at the same time. There's just that little bit of kind of hoppy spice going right around the edge of the palate. But in comparison to the other ones, obviously with it being a session IPA, it's very light in comparison to the kind of full strength double IPAs. I really would have loved if they'd kind of done a rerun of the original Hello My Name is Ingrid, but this is actually quite nice and quite interesting. But yeah, the cloudberries in this one are coming in the background actually. It's quite interesting, they're just sitting behind the front curve of the tongue there, and it's actually quite a bit of a mild flavour compared to what you get from the double IPAs, I think, in terms of the additional fruit. The Hello My Name Is series always has some kind of unusual indigenous fruit with it. and I think it was lingonberries and Mette Marie, and then it was some other kind of berry that they put into the Hello My Name is Paivi, and it was quite prominent, but in this one I think it's actually a bit subdued. But yeah, you definitely get it just behind the very front of the tongue. Is where you're getting the cloudberries. You feel this little oily bubble just come towards the forefront of the mouth, and then you're just getting this kind of the definite cloudberry flavour in there. It's hard to describe that flavour for you because it is so distinct. But around the edges of the palate, you're getting a nice kind of grassy, aromatic-y hop, particularly at the front, and the pine raisins are coming out towards the back. There is just a little teeny bit of earthiness in there too, which, as I say, I think that's the Bramling cross that comes out there. But the big citrusy and floral and aromatic elements are coming from the other hops, the Nelson Sauvin and the Centennial and the Columbus. I think it's the Centennial that's particularly pine resiny in this one. It's quite a good bittering hop actually. There is a little bit of tropical fruit in there, but it is very subdued. It kind of mixes quite well with the aromatic and the pine resiny characters. But I actually do like how the cloudberries linger in this one. I would have loved to have tried the original, like I say, but this one is definitely quite interesting. It'd be interesting to see how the other ones in the series would fare up in this way as well. But yeah, it's really nice. The malt base on this one is actually quite bready. That just blankets the middle of the palate, but there's a little bit of a kind of biscuity sweetness in there, and perhaps a slightly more richer caramel goes right down the middle of the tongue. But that just, as I say, that blankets the middle of the palate. But there's actually quite a good transition between the sort of bready malt base, which is actually very light, and moving out towards the slightly earthy characters on the very back sides of the palate, and then you're moving, as I say, into the pine raisins, and then gradually kind of more floral and aromatic as you move forward, before you get into a little bit of fruit on the very kind of front curve of the tongue. And I think there's a bit of kind of citrusy flavour coming out there, a sort of lemony citrus. I think that's usually, I think, the Columbus hop and the Centennial that have just a little bit of citrus in them. But there is a wee bit of tropical fruit in there, maybe a little bit of kind of grapefruit or passion fruit or something like that, but it is very, very mild. As I say, the most prominent fruity component in this beer definitely has to be the cloudberries, and then outside of that, it's really a more kind of floral and aromatic-y hop with some pine raisins in there. But overall, it's very interesting. Yeah, it's actually more of a kind of crystal malty base it tastes like on this. The malt base is very, very light. There's just a little bit of biscuit sweetness that's in the kind of middle of the tongue there, but it's more of a very kind of bready one that's in this in comparison. In terms of the mouthfeel of this beer, I would say it is actually quite light-bodied. It's almost kind of the same feel as Punk IPA, if you like. It's quite interesting in that way. The carbonation's quite moderate. It really is about the same kind of feel, if you like, but it's got a nice juicy fruitiness in there. But the big component of this beer in terms of the mouthfeel is the hoppy dryness. There's a lot of bitter kind of piney resin character in there, some floral aromatic there, and that lingers into the aftertaste. But there is a nice little bit of sweet malt too. But I would say that this beer is a more dry, hoppy character, but what else would you expect from Brewdog? So overall, what I would say about this beer is that it is quite interesting. I do have to admit that in terms of this one, I do miss the kind of big caramel elements that you get from the double IPAs, but that's just me. I actually like the Imperial Reds and the Imperial IPAs and stuff in comparison to the other ones. I would probably drink those over drinking two of these, but that's just me. The idea behind this is that it's meant to be a session strength, and it's a Cloudberry IPA, so it is very interesting in that regard. One thing I would say, I think as I say, the malt for me could be just a little bit more caramelly, but that's just a very, very minor point. Brewdog brewed another really nice beer with this, and it's an interesting twist with the IPA. Adding fruit to beers is a very interesting place to experiment, as I'm sure many folk will agree, and Brewdog have done this very, very nicely. The cloudberries are a very nice berry, so it's a really kind of nice twist to the IPA style, if you like. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Go and check out the Hello My Name is Little Ingrid from Brewdog in Aberdeenshire. Very, very good brewery, as I told you, if you haven't heard of them already. Hopefully they'll do another run of the kind of full version of this too. That would be really awesome to see. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer below. I always enjoy reading them. And yeah, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. There's many more Brewdog reviews for you to come. I've got a couple of special ones, and the IPA is Dead 2015 range, and the Russian Doll's coming up, I believe. So stay tuned for that, and I'll catch you soon with my next beer review. Slàinte.